green juice, hanging exercise equipment, treadmill, oversized radio, and unopened cardboard boxes. The robot vacuum has apparently gotten stuck while trying to navigate around everything, unable to get back to its charger of battery in the bathroom. There are frozen boxes of pizza, cartons of ice cream, waffles, and seafood fillets in the freezer. No matter how hard I try to tidy up, I'm astounded by the fact that more and more things pile up. I'm Allison, 40 years old. I've been busy with work, chores, or taking care of a child and haven't had time to take myself. My 10-year-old daughter, Emily, ever me.
Mom, you have to eat breakfast.
I know, but it's too hectic with house getting my husband and daughter off. I normally just end up having only coffee before I leave. My husband, David, snickers at me. You're not very efficient. 3 while the sofa playing with his phone. My mother-in-law, Pat, is a fixture on TV.
We are out of toilet paper. Don't buy some on your way home. 33.
She says scornfully. Whose fault is it that I so busy? I feel anger boiling up, but I force myself to swallow it and take a deep breath. I don't want to argue in front of my daughter. Exactly 1 year ago, we took in Pat and started living together. The event that led to it was the passing of my father-in-law. He held a high position in a big company, and his in-laws were supposedly well off. When he passed away, David's sister Pat was stunned to find that she had inherited nothing. On the contrary, there were debts from the renovation of the house, car loans, etc. He apparently couldn't change his lifestyle after he retired and had his savings. I thought he was living large and never expected him to be on the verge of bankruptcy. The loan could not be paid off by Pa's Social Security alone, and she had her car and house to make a little money. Of course, we couldn't let her, whose sense of money, live alone. My sister-in-law, who was married to her own mother-in-law, begged her into. Pat, who had spent all of her late money, was not remorseful at all. She induced David's sympathy by act. Sad widow who had lost everything, nobody but her son to rely on. It boosted his ego, and he started her. A month after she moved in, so many from Amazon arrived. Was so stunned that I asked the CC.
Are you sure all of these are houses?
As I was in shock, looking at the P boxes at the entrance, Pat walked up smiling.
The internet is amazing, isn't it? I ordered them yesterday, and every arrived already. 33.
Are these all for you?
Yes, my lovely son ordered them for me. Now please take everything to my RC.
I felt a bit of anxiety, but convinced myself that she had just moved in and some things were still unpacked. I quietly carried them to her room. It didn't end there. A month later,
Again?
33.
I exclaimed involuntarily at the door, and the courier laughed awkwardly. It was natural that both of us were. That was the third time that a large package had been delivered to the wrong address. Of course, all of them were addressed. What came out of those boxes were not necessities of daily life, but bags of foods, CDs, and soon, they were all little luxuries, and the kind of things that a person with money would buy. She wrote down the items she wanted watching TV, and 5 David ordered all. She beamed with joy when the items. I could not agree with it and made my frustration clear to David.
Hey, you are spending too much.
Shut up. I can't believe you're trying to take away one of the few pleasures people have left. You're spiteful.
I don't mean it like that, but
It's coming from me and her, so don't complain.
Are you saying that I don't have enough money? He got so angry that we couldn't discuss it. Pat, of course, couldn't care less frustration and continued writing do she wanted, and he bought them for. Half a year passed in that way. When I got home with Emily one evening, I felt something strange in the house. The living room was overflowing with. Emily noticed the cause first.
Mom, my room.
What's going on?
She urged me to look around the room. Her wardrobe and desk were lined up side by side. I rushed to her room to find David in the middle of moving Pat's belongings into his own.
Wait a minute. This is Emily's room.
We have no choice. There is not enough space in my mama. It's a luxury for a 10-year-old to own room anyway. She'll be too spoiled and won't become a responsible adult.
You're kidding. Where is she going to change her clothes?
We're a family. She can change in the bathroom or anywhere else. If her mother thinks like that, she'll be bringing boys over soon.
You are talking nonsense.
What an inappropriate comment to say, daughter. Emily had been staring at her room beside me and muttered, "Dad's such a slob." He was startled, but she went into the bathroom and locked herself in. I let out a deep sigh.
I agree with her.
What the hell? I just feel sorry, Mom.
He really didn't think what he said was out of line. Meanwhile, Pat was nonchalantly opening packages that had arrived. I was fed up living with those two who not only had no sense of money, but were heartless. Emily hardly spoke to them for a week. I only supported her and refused to bridge between her and them. Was convinced that it was 100 the right decision. They must have realized that it was situation. One day, David suggested that he would like to cook a special dinner for a change. I was anxious, but left it to him. It was the last chance for him to win her over. When Emily and I came home, David and his wife cheerfully invited us to the dining room. There we saw, for the first time, a large electric pot and a pile of crab legs. We fell silent at the sight. David looked satisfied and smug.
Emily, Grandma has prepared a delicious meal for us tonight.
I'm allergic to crab.
I scolded him, who looked puzzled.
I told you many times that she is to crab, didn't I? I asked you to explain it to Pat so she can understand that it could be life-threatening.
Emily, dear, don't you want to eat?
It's not that I don't want to, but
She did her best to explain it. Pat didn't try to understand and made a sorrowful face. David got upset at the sight and seek Emily.
Hey, don't be rude to your grandma. It's not about whether you can or cannot do something. It's about how grateful you are for your grandmother's kindness.
it's not my fault. I hate you.
Emily,
She retreated to the bedroom crying, and I tried to chase after her. I heard David let out an exaggerated sigh, like a father troubled by his daughter's rebellion.
It's your fault for raising her little ass.
He blamed me for it. The thread that had barely held me was snapped at that point. I didn't want to deal with him and Pat anymore. He was nothing but cruel to insist that allergies were coming from her selfishness. It would have been better not to have someone who only flatters his mother and hurts his daughter. I definitely didn't plan to be dragged into their squandering either. I stared straight at David.
she is a good girl. Who the hell are you to constantly criticize my mother and forget about your own allergies?
Whose money do you think you're living off of?
3, my own.
His face turned red and blue like traffic lights. Pat's purchases increased. I and all was going to pay the bills. I don't care about that anymore.
Get out. If you disagree with me, the house.
Sure, please go through these then.
What is it?
Taking the opportunity, I quickly took out the divorce papers from my bag. The day after he took Emily's room mother, I visited an attorney's office. Although I had hoped that I would not go through with it at that time, I knew that I was not mistaken in my decision. His eyes looked as though they would pop his head. He must have thought that I would quit, but when he threatened me, I stood my ground. It was too bad for him, but it was fortunate for me.
You are going to regret this.
David was too proud to back down, and the papers roughly from my hand.
I will come back later to pick up our belongings. Of course, I'll leave everything else as it is.
You better.
Don't touch my stuff.
39.
I walked out of the dining room, leaving David, who brushed me away with a smile at the corner of his mouth. Pat had started putting crab legs in a wobbly, boiling pot. She obviously didn't care whether her granddaughter cried or her son divorced, as long as she had a place to live that satisfied her needs. I packed the bare necessities and left the house with Emily. When I peeked into the dining room, I saw a red-faced man downing a crab, leg with one hand, while an old woman discreetly broke open shells with the other. My decision was not a mistake. I was reassured. After that, I left Emily with my parents and took a leave from work and went apartment hunting. I was lucky enough to find a charming flat and asked a friend to help me move. 20 days after I left David, I mow belongings out of the house while he worked. Pat was usually in front of the TV, was not home at that time. I had invited her to a full-day spa a day earlier. She ordered way too many things and didn't remember what she actually bought. She must have enjoyed the bus tour with care. I put all our possessions in the truck and returned to the new home. That night, I received a call from my friend.
What the hell happened in my house? You're supposed to take only your sewn thief.
I was fighting back the laughter at the expected turn of events. I intentionally made an indifferent gave him the reality check.
Yes, we only moved our stuff. What's wrong?
No, you didn't.
Washing machine, TV, refrigerator, vacuum cleaner, computer, sofa, din, car, and some other things were all by me and my parents. Any objection?
Is that right?
Yes, they were all bought by me and my parents. His house was left with cardboard BC Health appliances piled up in the end rooms. When he needed to take out a loan to buy a house, I helped with the furniture and appliances to save him money. My in-laws enjoyed splurging on themselves, but the idea of giving gifts or helping others never occurred to them. They didn't help us financially, but also didn't interfere in our jives. I never complained about them, but I thought it would come back in some strange way.
I left you the house you bought and everything your mother bought. What are you complaining about?
No, I mean, it's just...
It's okay. Your mother will watch what you guys need on the internet. Oh, you have to buy a TV first? You can afford the latest model with your income, can't you? Your mother is lucky to have such a son.
Yeah, but...
The robot vacuum will do the clean. She has 3. Oh, but you might want to clean up out of their way. They're kind of cute, like pets. You should buy a refrigerator soon. Frozen crabs and shellfish should be thawed in the refrigerator, not at room temperature. You should eat them as soon as possible after they have been thawed. Also, those fish fillets and meats, think there are frozen waffles and 2. Oh, no microwave oven. You can substitute it with an electric pot you guys were using the other day. Oh, but there's no dining table. We make it work. I'm going out for a steak dinner with my wife tonight.
Wait a minute.
We're having a party for our fresh. You should too. We'll talk about child support next with my attorney. I'm off now.
Hey, wait.
Leaving behind a squeal of delight out unintentionally, I hung up the... It was February, but everything I put in the freezer in the morning was gone by noon. Pat must have been devastated that her TV was gone. I also took out her favorite lamp and quilt. I imagined them struggling with anguish in the empty house, which may have felt a bit better. Then, as I had declared, we discussed support at my attorney's office. David looked a little worn out, but didn't want to be seen as a loser and agreed to the divorce with an air of disregard. He should not have had any problems buying anything with his salary. But they were the kind of people who created one. That was one of the reasons why I decided to divorce him. Since then, every time I saw him for a bi-weekly visit with my daughter, his complexion became worse. Pat's squandering got worse. She even had her son choose her over his wife, which gave her the right to spend. The fact that she no longer had me also accelerated her habits. When David realized that his savings had run out, he knew it was time to start looking for a job. In addition, there were still plenty of leftover items from when they bought new furniture, appliances, and a new call. He finally realized he was in trouble and imposed a shopping ban. Pat became outraged because he wasn't being heard, and he was angry with her for listening to him. They apparently fought every day. When she realized that he wasn't budge, took her wallet and went shopping at the supermarket and drug. She especially favored a dollar shop and bought whatever she wanted. She was not only wasting money, but also increasing the clutter at an alarming rate. Their house overflowed like a hoarder's residence. She even bought tons of food, so the bad before they were consumed. When David had enough, he took her purse and she cried out to the neighbors, causing a commotion. There was even a time when the author had to intervene. She deceived everyone by playing an elderly woman whose son had stolen her pension. They all blamed David, and she got back. She immediately ran to a dollar shop, great joy. In the end, David only had 1 year of visitation. From the second year, child support fell behind, and Emily didn't wish him. My earnings alone were enough, so there was no problem for me. In truth, my life became financially and mentally easier without Pat. Never helped me with housework. Emily gradually gained back her cheerfulness. I was very glad that we didn't stay house for longer, 5 years after the divorce.
Here it is, Mom. I've been accepted.
Oh my God!
Emily received an acceptance letter from her top choice private high school. We jump up and down and embrace each other. She has worked exceptionally hard past years. She suppressed her desire to play friends or to give up and put all he into achieving her goal. I, too, supported her dream to come working harder and taking her to and activities. It was achieved by us, mother and daughter, working hand in hand. Of course, the past 5 years have all fun and games. I've struggled to handle my adolescent daughter and had a hard time with the coldness of the public's view towards mothers. What has been keeping me going is surprisingly David.
It's not easy being a single parent. My mom is in a facility now, so come me. And I have to prepare to welcome you back. Send me money. 33.
I'm fueled every time he sends me these foolish messages. Pat was indeed spiteful, but he still seemed to understand that he had neglected his daughter in favor of his mother. Anyway, just before he asked me to go with him, I saw Pat at a dollar store. I know that he's in so much trouble trying to sell his house. The two of them who live their lives in effort and remorse, but only with selfish desires, will continue to fall bottom. That is a trivial matter for me now. Emily's smile is shining brightly, has been accepted after much effort. That is enough to make me happy.
So who wants a steak dinner for celebration?
Yes.
I take her hand and we walk under the burning red sky at sunset. Her hand, which I haven't held in a long time, has grown bigger than mine. I feel a warmth steep in my chest,